Hey, what's up guys? This is Charlie from Watch Your Style. Hope you guys are having a great holiday season so far. Merry Christmas. Just wanted to do a very kind of unconventional review of two, very kind of different watches from Omega and Rolex, but also two very well-known watches. The Rolex Explorer, reference 214270, and the Omega Speedmaster Professional Moonwatch. This is the Headlight model, of course, the traditional classic Moonwatch. And the reason why I'm kind of comparing these two is that they're both black dial, very popular, sought after sports models in Rolex and Omega's lineups. And they're both known for kind of different reasons. The Explorer obviously being known for the supposed summit to Mount Everest. There's a whole story behind that, which I won't get into. But the Moonwatch is obviously known for the Apollo 11 moon landing back in 1969 as well. So they're both very well-known watches in Omega and Rolex's lineup. When it comes to pricing, they're relatively the same, in the same ballpark. The Explorer is retails for $65.50, whereas the Moonwatch retails for $53.50. Now I understand that's not the whole story, right? The Speedmaster you can pick up secondhand for cheaper. It just doesn't command as much of a price premium as Rolex does. So the Explorer is just kind of a more difficult watch to pick up in general at retail. In my particular case, I was able to pick up this particular example from an authorized dealer that I already had established a previous relationship with. So I was able to pick this one up at retail. But if I wasn't able to do that and I bought it secondhand or on the gray market, I think this watch is currently going for $8,000 or $9,000 or something like that. So it's definitely commands a very strong price premium in the secondary market. But these two are relatively the same at retail. The Speedmaster at retail is $53.50, but on the secondary market it can be had for around the $4,000 mark, depending on where you look and depending on whether you get box and papers and all that. The Explorer, first and foremost, is a time-only watch, right? There's no complications whatsoever on this piece. All it has is just a three-hander. It's got your hour hand, your minute hand, and then your seconds hand. And so there's no date window, there's no chronograph complication, there's no dive bezel. It's very simple and it's very understated and practical, and that's kind of part of the reason why the Explorer is a well-respected watch. The Speedmaster is a chronograph, so it has the two pushers here. It's got the sub registers. The one at 9 o'clock is for the running seconds. The one at the 3 o'clock is to count minutes, and then the one at the 6 o'clock is the hour counter, and it counts up to 12 hours. The function of this watch is much different from the Explorer, just at face value. With that being said, let's jump into some of the specifications. The Explorer is a much thinner watch at 11.2 millimeters thick. The wingspan, or the lug tip to lug tip, is 47.4. The lug width is 20 millimeters and it tapers down to a nice 16 millimeters at the clasp. So this watch wears very thin on the wrist, and it's a little bit more versatile just due to its thinness and its lower profile. And also just in terms of everyday comfort, I find that the Oyster bracelet is a lot more comfortable just due to its taper. It just fits on the wrist a little bit better and a little bit lighter. The Omega Speedmaster is a much thicker watch at 14.5 millimeters thick. You can see that's in a large part due to the domed Headlight crystal. But overall the watch looks very slim. So for formal occasions, the Speedmaster is not going to be as ideal as the Explorer, but it still looks very elegant nonetheless. The lug width is also 20 millimeters. And it has a very light taper compared to the Rolex, and it tapers down to 18. You can see that the clasps are very different. The Speedmaster has a double pusher deployant clasp, and then the Explorer has their patented, very popular Oyster lock clasp. You know, it's got the friction fit there, and then also the extra snap there for extra security on the wrist. And then also the Explorer comes with the on-the-fly Easy Link adjustment for 5 millimeters of on-the-fly tightening or loosening of the clasp, which really comes in handy as your wrist swells or shrinks depending on the temperature. The Speedmaster is a very rudimentary kind of bracelet. It doesn't have any on-the-fly adjustment. Now let's take a look at the case backs. So the Speedmaster, obviously, since it's known for its moon history, its moon heritage, it's got some cool text here on the case back. You can see flight qualified by NASA for all manned space missions, the first watch worn on the moon, and then professional moonwatch. And then of course you got this nice engraved hippocampus with the seahorse, Omega seahorse there. The Rolex is pretty rudimentary, pretty plain when it comes to case. They're just in general with their case backs. It's very plain. It doesn't have any lettering or engraving, and you'll find that on all their models. You can see the bracelets are different in their execution as well. The Speedmaster kind of has a quasi oyster style bracelet. You'll have polished sides here as well, and a brushed case with polished lugs. On the Rolex Explorer, this is your classic oyster style bracelet with fully brushed all throughout and then polished on the side. Oh, and forgot to mention the sides of the case on the Rolex are also polished, and then the lugs are brushed. And the Speedmaster, of course, has the very classic twisted lugs, which look extremely elegant. And it's really cool that they've left that design ethos in all of their professional models throughout the years. The bezel on the Rolex Explorer is completely high polish, so will show kind of signs of wear and tear and scratches a little bit more easily, but it is still very durable. It is a little bit stronger material-wise compared to aluminum, which will scratch, or even ceramic, which will shatter on impact. So steel, even though it shows wear and tear, it's a very robust bezel material. The Speedmaster has this tachymeter bezel around the outside. So this basically tracks the speed of, let's say, a car and how long it takes the car to complete a mile, for example. You basically activate this top pusher here. Let's say, the car starts its lap, and then you're timing it. Let's say it's an extremely fast car and it completes the lap in 12 seconds here. You can see that the corresponding number on the tachymeter scale says 300. So that means that car is going 300 miles an hour. You can start and pause the chronograph with this button here, and that'll keep going. And then once it passes the 12 o'clock, you'll see that this minute counter will flip to the 1 minute position. And same goes with the hour counters as well. So to pause it, you'll hit the pause again, and then to reset it, you'll hit the bottom pusher here, which will snap the chronograph seconds hand back to the 12 o'clock position. Now, you can see here in the light that the Explorer has very little, if none, anti-reflective or AR coating on the sapphire crystal. So it does glare. That can be a downside, but I've heard that they don't use AR coating, that Rolex doesn't use AR coating because it's a little bit easier to scratch. The longevity of a sapphire crystal with no AR coating is allegedly better without AR coating, but that's just what I've heard. Now, the Hesalite actually has a very reduced glare just due to, I think, the physical properties of plastic, which is definitely actually a huge plus. And another positive to plexiglass or Hesalite that doesn't get talked about very often is that it doesn't smudge very easily, if at all. You can see, if I put my thumb on this crystal, it'll smudge very easily. Now, the movements are also very different that are powering both of these watches. The caliber that's powering the Rolex Explorer is the Rolex Caliber 3132. That one beats at a high beat frequency of 4 hertz or 28,800 vibrations per hour. So it's a very high frequency caliber, and it's very accurate. It's rated to -2 or +2 to Rolex's superlative chronometer certification. And it's an automatic self-winding movement as well. So the caliber powering the Speedmaster is the caliber 1861, which is based off of the original caliber 321 that powered the very first Speedmasters. It's a manually wound chronograph movement. It has a much lower beat rate frequency at 3 hertz or 21,600 vibrations per hour. It is not a chronometer, so it's not particularly accurate. There's not really any guaranteed accuracy with this watch, but my particular example runs about, let's say, +10 to +15 seconds a day. Another thing to mention is that the Rolex Explorer is 100 meters water resistant, and that's in part thanks to the screw down case back, the twin lock screw down crown, and the oyster case. And so this watch is 100 meters water resistant, and it's a lot more practical in that regard, since the Speedmaster is actually only 50 meters water resistant. It does not have a screw down crown, and water could enter, in theory, could enter through the pushers here as well. And it's definitely not advisable to engage either of these pushers in the water. So you definitely have to be a little bit more careful with this one. With the Explorer, it's just a lot more versatile in that department. I don't have to worry about taking this one in the water. Let me show you a wrist shot. So sorry, I'm kind of wearing a really janky hoodie today. It's not very stylish, but I have 6.5-inch wrists in diameter, and this is the Explorer on my wrist. And as you can see, it wears very elegantly. You know, it wears almost like a dress piece. It's kind of like a dress sports kind of vibe. The thinness, the 11.2, makes it extremely easy to slide under any tight dress sleeve. Incredible lume, by the way, as well. And I'll pop up a lume shot of the Explorer with that 3, 6, and 9 loomed indices. Extremely legible in all light conditions. But let me show you in comparison how the Speedy wears on my wrist. And you'll be surprised to find that even with the Speedmaster's 14.5 millimeters thickness, it doesn't look like a very bulky or overly thick watch. Because the case profile is so thin, the Speedmaster actually it has the appearance of a very thin watch. The only thing that really bulks it up is gonna be that Hesalite crystal. But other than that, guys, the Speedmaster wears very well on the wrist. It's a very legible and easy to read watch. And I'll pop up a lume shot as well, and you'll see that the lume is actually quite good on this watch as well. So that's pretty much it, guys. Let me give you some final thoughts. You know, if you're looking for just kind of an all-arounder, something that you can just, you know, set and forget, keep on your wrist, and kind of wear it to any situation, and just really not have to worry about it, I would definitely choose the Explorer. You know, if you can pick an Explorer up at retail right now at the going retail price is $65.50, I would definitely choose the Explorer. I mean, it's a solid option, even at the $65.50 price point. You know, it has the automatic movement. It has the superlative chronometer accuracy, the 100-meter water resistance, and the tapered oyster bracelet and thin profile just make this watch so easy to wear and so suitable for all types of occasions. On the other hand, if you're looking to save a little bit of money, since the Speedmaster is cheaper than the Explorer, even at retail, and even cheaper if you go secondary or gray market, or sometimes gray market, depending on where you look and when you're looking. I mean, you definitely get a huge bang for your buck here, guys. I mean, the Speedmaster, its history is just unparalleled. It is the first watch that went to the moon in 1969. It's kind of a must-have in every hardcore watch collector's collection. and you're getting a solid piece. You know, you're not getting the accuracy, you're not getting the robustness, you're not getting the versatility as much as the Explorer, but this is still a badass watch. When you have this on your wrist, it really pops, and the design is just so striking and so bold, but it does so without trying too hard as well. It's not an over-the-top bold watch. It's not flashy. This design has remained relatively unchanged since the 1960s, which is just something to be said and something to be proud of, just from a design standpoint. So this is definitely a good watch to have in your collection. However, if I were to choose just one, you know, if you wanted to have one good solid watch to own and cherish for the rest of your days, and perhaps, you know, hand down to your kids, your grandkids, you know, I would still go with the Explorer. You know, it's more versatile, it's more of an all-rounder, it works in every situation, it's more practical, you don't have to wind it every day. But that's just my personal opinion. These are both really solid pieces, and you really can't go wrong with either of them. If you get the Speedmaster, chances are you'll probably get the Explorer, and vice versa. These two can very much coexist. They each bring their unique value proposition, quirkiness, history, and brand heritage. I hope you're able to see the differences between these two watches. If you're deciding between these two watches, I hope this video is helpful. And if you have either of these watches and you're looking to pick up the other one, I would say go for it. So with that being said, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Really hope that you guys have a great holiday and spend some great time with your loved ones. And it's been a super weird year. You know, I personally haven't seen my family in about a year or so. And, you know, it's been tough, but we'll get through it. And thanks as always, guys, for tuning in. And if you haven't had the chance to subscribe to the channel, please be sure to do so. Send me some likes, send me some comments. Thanks so much for watching and tuning in, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. Thanks for your support as always, guys. Take care.